Вдохновение для меня это когда я прихожу в класс.
The inspiration for me is a need to go to the rehearsal, to the ballet class.
У меня есть необходимость пойти и это сделать. И вы знаете, чаще всего, наверное, может быть, это плохо.
And this need arises more often when something goes wrong in my life and a black stripe comes. Someone or something may bother me or I impress myself more often.
Совсем благополучно. Просто вот складываются какие-то обстоятельства. Кто-то мне мешает или что-то мне мешает, или я сам себе мешаю. Чаще всего, наверное, так. С конца августа в моей душе.
I've been in a very difficult situation for 6 months, so it has reflected on the state of my soul.
В нюансе произошла очень сложная для меня ситуация, даже где-то перерождение самого себя внутри. Это на самом деле происходит уже полгода получше.
I see that work is the only way out of this impasse. Otherwise, the consequences can become rather serious for me.
Что это может все лично для меня закончиться не очень хорошо.
Смерть по правой дьяволу празднивый, и живот миру твоему дороговый.
In the night from 6th to 7th of May, 1997, suddenly the lights went out in Ivan Parshagin's apartment in Syktyvkar. Ivan Parshagin was the chief choreographer of the Komi Republic Opera and Ballet. Suspecting nothing, the owner and his guest ballet dancer Andrey Merkuriev opened the door to check the electric fuse at the stairwell. Death was waiting for one of them at the doorstep. Before this story was happened, about 100 years ago, Oscar Wilde had been sentenced to 2 years for the hard labor for gross indecency with men. But only in 20 years, Queen Elizabeth II would sign the law of Alan Turing, posthumously pardoning 50,000 supporters of the law that carries its name. In the 20th century, criminal liability for sodomy provided in deprivation of liberty for the term up to 5 years, and it existed in the law from 34 to 93 years in Russia. In 2013, Russian President Vladimir Putin signed the federal law banning propaganda of homosexuality to protect children from information that promotes negation of traditional family values. It is noteworthy that even the head of the Human Rights President's Council compared it with the ban of propaganda to be left-handing or black. Life has all colors. Each shade of it expressed something, or it may be used by the single creator of everything. All colors are equally unique. White will never take the place of black, or vice versa, even in favor of such frivolous human justice. Human nature is imperfect. Sometimes people suffer from color blindness. Color blindness, inability to distinguish colors. But they are usually sincere in their delusions. My program Crystal Ball was popular in the state Komi Republic television in the mid-90s. I was able to speak frankly about problems that troubled people. However, I had to use Azopian language. In 1997, I had to use allegories telling people about the tragedy that had occurred with the talented choreographer Ivan Parshagin in the Russian province in Syktyvkar. There is another shot for television. Do you remember how it happened? You asked me if during the interview you would smoke. I answered you yes. We couldn't even imagine that it had been a big mistake. Who could have thought that this very ill-fated cigarette had annoyed the head of the theatre, that she had burst in the scene and rudely demanded to turn off the camera, even at that very moment when you forgot about everybody. You were sincere about love and about the heart's secrets. You were like Rudolf Nureyev. I hope you have read his diaries. So you know how dangerous public confession is. There is always someone else who can use your spontaneous sincerity to hurt. You often did the same to others, didn't you? Boomerang comes back, and the duel with the reality is perpetual. The composer Michael Gatzman chose as a weapon the world on TV this powerful and almost gunshot one. The choreographer Rosa Hakulova refused to say farewell to you when you had died. She loved you, and she didn't want to lie. She loved you as a friend, and maybe she was the only your real friend in Syktyvkar. Sic transit gloria mundi. The glory of the world is ashes, but the last knot of your cigarette. When the twins, Andrey and Roman Vasilyevs, young talented dancers, became the winners of the Le Prix de Lausanne and other international competitions, they refused to mention about who was their mentor. And their foster mother, Tatiana Vasilyeva, had admitted that she would have been glad to get rid of some memories. The legendary dancer, choreographer, and your teacher, the people's artist of the Soviet Union, Nikita Dolgushin, appreciated you as a professional, but refused to talk about your destiny in front of the camera. Shooting your last TV program on the roof of a nice storied block of flats, I tried to warn you how dangerous it was to walk on the edge. And maybe unwillingly, I predicted the final ending of this story. But we always need to pay for our words and actions we choose. Do you agree with me? When I am happy in my work and in my life, when there is a peace in my heart and progress in my work, I feel as if I am a master. I am sympathetic to everyone and everything. The performances are okay, but I am not very interested in it. After all, everything is good. But when a volcano is awakening and a thunderstorm sounds in my soul, I feel the need to go to ballet class, to find inner harmony together with the artists at ballet. Persistence and hard work are the best cure for stress, depression and melancholy. I am going to say some not very flattering words that characterizes Ivan Parshagin. But believe me, I will do it in a good way. The cynics are the most enormous realists. Some people believe that the artists are light and airy, that ballet dancers think by feet. No, they are sons of bitch. He's a very young man. He is not 30 years old yet. Talking to him, I always felt that he was 60. It followed from his way of thinking. It was a hard task for me to become the professional ballet artist and choreographer. Some problems and disasters happened every time. It was the only time when the diploma had been issued specially for me.
Ivan Parshagin is a hard nut to crack. In some cases, it is very good. Due to his character, I can forgive him a lot. After all, a leader must have the strong character. Otherwise, he will achieve nothing.
At age of 21, I became the head of opera theatre in Yakutia. It was really interesting, though terribly difficult. It was a test for my character, to check me as a leader. I had tried, and suddenly it worked. Later I studied at the Krasnoyarsk choreographic school. It means that at age of 21 years, I had the opportunity to do what I wanted due to my high position in the head of opera theatre.
Знаете, руководителя все хотят видеть там.
Everybody thinks that the director is a very strong man who knows what he's doing. I often don't know what am I doing, but nobody guessed what I feel.
Наверное, 70% работы главного балетмейстера, наверное.
70% of the work of the chief choreographer, chief director, chief conductor is to build relationships with management authorities.
С управленческим аппаратом это какие-то бумаги, это какие-то интриги, это...
They need to read and sign papers, to intrigue, to think what to say and to write.
Что написать.
Если говорить о политике театра, если говорить о...
If we are talking about theater politics and its complex relationships, atmosphere, I must say that Ivan Yuryevich Parshagin is the king. He has no equal in this area.
Так вот, я слышал такое мнение компетентно, что Иван Юрьевич в этой области мэтр, и тут ему не о чем беспокоиться.
Вы знаете, это кажется. И кажется потому,
This is just an illusion. The throne and the leader's chair psychologically suppresses the people. And the actors standing in front of you become mentally very vulnerable ones.
Актеры, а они душевно очень беззащитные люди. Творчество как таковое.
Creativity of mine and our artists, I never say my artists, cares only a few professional experts in the audience. And the public opinion is made up of those interviews that I have given, and TV programs that I have arranged, and the official documents that I have written.
Из тех передач по телевидению, которые выстраиваю я, из тех бумаг, которые пишу я.
He has a lot of advantages, and I usually told him directly about his character. But he has a lot of advantages.
Вы знаете, я выхожу из дома из своего всегда. Я подхожу к театру, к служебному.
You know, when I am leaving home and I am coming to the staff entrance, I have to put the iron mask on and politely tell the watchman, hello. No one guesses what I have in my heart and my soul at this very moment.
И чтоб никто не догадался, что у меня, что внутри меня.
Ivan is an unpredictable man, but I'm sure he is really talented. He is very young, but youth is a drawback that passes quickly. I believe that he will become wiser, and he will not repeat his mistakes.
What do you think, it is easy to communicate with him?
А я тут даже и думать не буду.
I can tell you without hesitation, it is terribly difficult. Sometimes his requirements seem to be excessive or even creepy. I remember how I have worked with Ivan Parshagin at my ballet The Snow Queen. I have never had such a stressful experience in my life. Parshagin, like the teacher, critically checked every melody. I had a clear plan. Daily, I wrote one melody and finished work at 16 hours. At 16 p.m. sharp, I'll come, commanded Ivan Yurievich.
16 часов я буду у вас, он говорил.
Of course, there is no progress without a conflict.
Once, I was a bit late for the rehearsal. There was a fire in my apartment, and when I came to the rehearsal, I was barely alive. In this very moment, Ivan Parshagin said, "There you have the drum plate." I removed it. You know, it somehow sounds strange. "My dear," said Ivan Yurievich, as if the 16-years-old man was teaching the 20-years-old one. "You are the beginner composer of the ballet. I will teach you how to orchestrate."
Я научу вас оркестровать.
Ivan is a man of his word. If he tells, he will do it.
Затем художнику Фроловой, замечательному нашему художнику, который...
And once Parshagin publicly said, "Imagine, for a short time I have turned a rather mediocre opera composer into a pretty decent ballet master." And then, talking to me personally, he pronounced, "My dear, if you continue to work under my leadership, you will have an amazing career. I believe in you."
Под моим руководством и дальше у вас все будет получаться изумительно, изумительно. Я верю в вас.
He has another positive quality. He is able to admit his mistakes. So Ivan Parshagin is now hopeless.
Подлинные художники получают
Nature gives real artists an amazing present to realize the most mysterious, sometimes hidden mental impulses and image to bring the delight, joy, or incredible sadness to other people. And the public is not always able to recognize the cause of the feelings, because they are so real and inviting. Ivan Parshagin, the graduate of St. Petersburg State Conservatory, named after Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, of course was a professional ballet master. One day, I asked the mentor Nikita Dolgushin, one of the greatest dancers and choreographers in the world, of his student have surpassed the teacher. Sometimes the student outgrows his teacher, but it happens very rarely. Is Ivan Yurievich Parshagin such a student?
Иван Паршагин был великолепным студентом.
Ivan Parshagin was a great student of the conservatory, and he has never expressed a desire to outgrow me. This case is non-special. It is destiny when the student outgrows his teacher.
Не специальное. Если человек перерастает, это судьба.
Получив назначение на должность главного балетмейстера Коми...
Having received the appointment as the chief choreographer of the Syktyvkar Opera and Ballet Theatre, Parshagin immediately adapted large ballets, Don Quixote and Sleeping Beauty, to the relatively small Syktyvkar stage and to the very modest ballet troupe. The performances were bright and spectacular. The costumes and sets of the Syktyvkar performances became a worthy settings of the musical and choreographic masterpieces.
музыкально-хореографических шедевров.
Когда я сюда приехал,
When I arrived to Syktyvkar from the Perm Ballet School, I wanted to continue my studies there. At first, Ivan Yurievich showed me the videotape of his Syktyvkar ballet Sleeping Beauty. I remember I was struck by the gorgeous sets and costumes. It was really fairy tale.
Хореография придумана другим человеком.
The choreography was invented by another man about 100 years ago and was designed for a troupe of 80 and for the stage which was 4 times bigger than in Syktyvkar.
И вот Иван Паршагин
And here Ivan Parshagin calculated the size of the stage and the possibilities of our troupe, staged this ballet, saving all the choreography, The scene seems to be richly decorated, crowded by the court. Here, along with Parshagin's romanticism and his love for Tchaikovsky's music, he manifested the highest choreographic professional order, paying attention even to the gesture. This is very important. Not just a simple dance, but one dancer ending a variation makes the gesture inviting another one to continue it. I could see how long and hard Ivan worked with artists on every movement.
Ivan Yurievich has put the great performances, The Sleeping Beauty and Don Quixote. Parshagin has enormous creative power. He can do it all. The artist has paint and canvas to express himself. The sculptor uses clay. The choreographer works with the living material to create. One creating power, images which charges other people.
Заряжать других.
In these shots, Roman Vasiliev from Syktyvkar is dancing at the 24th International Young Ballet Dancers Competition, Prize de Lausanne, 96. These moments on stage determines the boy's future. The dance from the ballet Don Quixote by Ludwig Mingus. Members of the authoritative jury still do not know that Vasiliev has come out with a broken arm on the stage. The arm has been operated here in Lausanne. What could fill this 70-year-old boy while he was dancing Spanish Confession of Grace, overcoming physical pain? Why the nightingale, no matter what educational institution has created from, trills but the sparrow, whatever has studied tweets? What is the innate gift, nature or God? Nicolas Boileau-Depriau has declared that no knowledge of versification rules will help the poet to write if he doesn't feel the secret influence from above, if he has not been born to be a poet. Padishah, over the abyss of life, is the splits in the air, lasting for some dancers even after death. For sure, only God knows whom He gives the talent. It takes time to identify his talent and to develop it into the right direction. Then he needs an experienced teacher. His skills continue to live in a capable and promising students. In the famous essay Leonardo da Vinci, A Childhood Memory, Sigmund Freud noted that there were a lot of very beautiful boys and young men close to Da Vinci. They were studying the art of painting, but none of these students became an outstanding artist. In this sense, Ivan Parshagin was lucky. He and Rose Hakulova, as teachers of the choreographic department of the Syktyvkar School of Arts, gave a start in life to many young talents. For example, to twin brothers Roman and Andrey Merkuriev. They won the international competition Prize de Lausanne in 96 and 97 years. And in 1998, the public graduation exam was held, where the skills of the dance department graduates, including Vasiliev's brothers, were examined by the maestro Dolgushin on the stage of the Syktyvkar Opera and Ballet Theatre. Me and Nikita Alexandrovich discussed this event on the air of the program All Russia TV and radio company Petersburg 5 channel. This program was dedicated to the themes fame, power, money. What do you think? What kind of future is waiting for them? Will they get the glory which you have predicted? Now, these boys that Nikita patted on the shoulder study in the school of John Neumer in Hamburg. Great guys. They studied in Russia, and Russian ballet school is the brand, and it means high professional level all over the world. I'm sure that Vasilyevs will work in the Western theaters, because Russian ones cannot provide the opportunities that they deserve. Work is at the first place in the West. People work hard, and to work perfectly is the main criterion of quality. John Neumer has got used to run the play with costumes 3 times if today there is the performance. No one cares you are tired or not. You must go on stage in an hour. You are paid money, so you need to dance. Of course, these 2 young dancers managed to fight their way to fame even in Syktyvkar. The way to the stars always go through the thorns and is associated with some dramas or tragedies. There is such a rule. To give birth to a new universe, you need to create a cataclysm. In the summer, their mother came and said that Roman was excluded from the Perm choreographic school, and before that Roma had little to study in the Bashkir school in Ufa, but he had to leave it due to some problems. In Perm, the scandal was raised out of the blue. He came into the dining room to drink a cup of tea. He asked for tea, and the waiter was rude to him. Roma lost his temper and said something sharp. The artist needs to convince himself. I am exciting right now, only in this very short moment. This moment will go away. It will never come back. You can never correct the words you have said. You are in the past. Therefore, you need to prepare properly to choose the variations of each movement, each nuance. It may sound paradoxically, it is necessary to develop a sense of the moment and to train this feeling. For many years I tried to define, to formulate, what is the ballet. The choreographic image may be multivalued, and it may have additional meanings. In the ballet, we can hear inaudible sounds and see the invisible things. It gives us the answers to the eternal questions of life. Remember Pontius Pilate, who asked Christ, "What is the truth?" A great Russian artist, Nikolai Ge, has a picture on this topic. If you notice the way Jesus looks at the procurator of Judea, it is clear that mankind will never be able to understand what is the truth. In my opinion, you know that is the truth. You have answered this question for yourself. You know that beauty is for yourself. For yourself? Maybe. But I am quite critical to myself. I try to understand what beauty is. This is my profession. And now, ending my career, I am trying to figure out what is the beauty for the current generation. And what is it? I am just trying to figure out. I don't really understand the current generation. It is hastily and peremptorily. When we were young, it was not so easy to answer. We are not so sharp-tongued. What is the truth? What we can say about the present hasty generation? It is sharp-tongued and easy to judge. However, these facts may be applied to any generation. The position of Pontius Pilate is the Pharisees. There are Pharisees today. Pontius Pilate is the power. On state TV and radio company Petersburg 5 channel, we talked about the power and moral choice of the artist Nikita Dolgushin, who embodied Shakespeare's heroes in ballet. The power, fame, money. What would you choose? The power, of course. This is not a political or state power, and the power of the artists over the actors and the audience. And in order to be powerful, you need to possess certain knowledge. Victor, if I could buy all birds captured in cages, I could surely let them fly to the sky. I would watch them escaping to freedom and enjoy their blissful ignorance of right, showing me their virtue named "thank you," but of course, if the words come from the heart. Apollinaire. It was a hello from Syktyvkar.
Иван Юрьевич сорвал съемку.
2 weeks ago, Ivan Parshagin broke the TV shooting, which had been ordered by him. And instead of explaining the reasons, he categorically stated, "No more TV." Just a few minutes later, on the floor below, nobody knows why. But nevertheless, the ICE verdict has reached Rose Hakulova's apartment, choreographer of the Syktyvkar Opera and Ballet Theatre. But as the song says, in due time the ice mountains start melting, birds arrive from the south, and it's not time for sleeping, but time comes and makes people crazy, and this time is called spring. Springtime is that period of life when you can walk along the edge of the 9-storied building looking for the thrills and new emotions. Spring is young, reckless and impatient. It is full of dangerous tests and is wastefully kind, like a sunbeam, dazzling beautiful. It confidently paves the way to a peaceful maturity, to rest, to fall. but it is spring in Syktyvkar now. And the annual International Arts Festival, Syktyvkar Spring, will soon melt the hearts of still frozen Syktyvkar people, finally approving the course for spring relations and art spring to float above the ground, in the soul full of flight.
Парить над землей в душой исполненном полете.
Rechiflao en mi tristeza, hoy te evoco y veo que has sido en mi pobre vida paria solo una buena mujer. Tu presencia de bacana puso calor en mi nido, fuiste buena consecuente y yo sé que me has querido, como no quisiste a nadie, como no podrás querer. Se dio el juego de remanche cuando vos, pobre percata, gambeteabas la pobreza en la casa de pensión. Hoy sos toda una bacana, la vida te ríe y canta, los morlacos del otario los tiras a la marcha, como juega el gato maula con el mísero ratón.
Да, я сталкиваюсь.
I always outrage when I face administrative arbitrariness. I don't like when they say, I will punish you to a creative person. The word punish is unacceptable.
Когда в адрес творческой личности могут сказать, я вас за это накажу, само слово.
I am not giving to specify the gender of the boss. What this boss is comparing to the actor who goes on stage and works.
Оно, по сравнению с тем,
It is Badal with the right to sign.
лужа с правом подписи. Лужа, которая может ставить подпись. Вот и все.
Hoy tenés el mate lleno de infelices ilusiones, engrupieron los otarios, las amigas y el gavión. La milonga entre magnates con sus locas tentaciones, donde triunfan y claudican milongueras pretensiones, se te han entrado muy adentro en el pobre corazón.
Вот одновременно эти 2 года.
For the period for these 2 years, he has done a lot, and how it turns out, he was the center of the theatre, despite his mistakes, complex relationship with the troupe, with me and my sons.
Личные отношения наши сложные, не только со мной, и с труппой, и с детьми, с моими, со всеми. Как-то так было все поставлено.
The atmosphere in troupe was very nervous, full of intrigues and psychological experiments. Sometimes I was sure that one was the energy vampire. He got pleasure from it. When he was gone, there was a sense of liberation. It was honestly. When he was looking into your eyes, he smiled faithfully. But behind your back, he was doing what he wanted.
За спиной делал, что хотел.
Творчество.
My creativity is creativity of a dancer or any actor is mainly connected, in my opinion, with some moments or periods of personal life. Everything passes through love, jealousy, and separation. It is cruel or not, in your opinion, to describe the circumstances of the tragic death of a man the way the Syktyvkar paper has done.
The article was dirty and dishonest, releasing the theme of homosexual love. But the theatre remained silent. And now the whole ballet troupe and Andrey Merkuriev and my sons were tarnished. Their sexual orientation and reputation are called into question, and this tale may reach each of them.
рассказывал Меркурьев мне, как это все было.
Andrey Merkuriev told me how it happened at the night of the murder. It was usual for work situation. Met it in one's apartment. They were looking for the VCR fragments of the ballets, preparing for a ballet competition. And the article begins as artistic story. They are escalating the sex atmosphere. Purposely. What for?
Нельзя такие вещи говорить.
You cannot say such things, even if it is true. When Ivan became himself, he by nature was open-minded person. Maybe once he was hurt and it forced him to wear armor. And all his negative traits of the character were just defensive reaction. But inside he was probably afraid to look weak, unrepresentative, although he managed to put himself that way that he was a significant figure.
What were his thoughts at the last second? What he remembered. I've been often at his rehearsals. He could also say, Tanya Sveta, you are doing it wrong, this movement. But he said, you do as you are tough. And instead of asking, why aren't you smiling? Ivan often repeated his phrase, you are looking as if you are a killer. Ivan Yurievich invited me to visit. We were preparing for the Kazan festival. I have no VCR at home, so we were going to watch the videotape recording of our ballet with my participation. Once he asked me, and have you ever thought to leave this profession? I answered him, have I done something wrong? He said, and I am thinking of leaving it. But I caught Ivan's tone. He was cheating, so I fervently started to dissuade him. How can you? And what will you do? He said, I don't know. We set the table. Talking about the nearest future, the festival which was held in August.
Часто любил блефовать.
He often liked to bluff. He liked the risky situation and the border marginal state between victory and defeat.
Победой и поражением, рискованные ситуации.
We were talking until midnight. Then we watched the videotape of the ballet Don Quixote, where I performed the role of Espada. There was a moment when I was falling on stage. We rewound it several times and laughed, and suddenly the lights went out.
Мне кажется, что последнее время
Last time Ivan was in a spiritual crisis. After our collaboration on the ballet The Snow Queen, we moved away from each other. And then he decided to resume the cooperation, to put a new ballet. And the day when he was killed, we were supposed to meet to discuss plans. I asked Ivan, where the lights went out. He says, so it was yesterday, 5th May, at about the same time. He went to the window, looked out, nothing. Then I got a candle and we went to the door.
Я вот что думаю, вот
should everybody have enemies? I think that enemies are necessary. We need those who will not accept us. This means that you have some kind of individual certainty, some personal parameters, and someone may not accept it. You are not streamlined, not enveloping, and some triangular, reaching, touching others. I followed the one, and I was bypassing the chair in which he had sat. I saw Parshagin going to the door. I heard him opening it. Then someone knocked the candle from Ivan's hands. It flew up to the ceiling and went out. He was not yet 30. He wanted to leave, but maybe misjudged the world and himself. Maybe he even overestimated himself, his power, his authority, his connections, maybe even his talent. Perhaps he is inevitable at a young age.
Наверное, это неизбежно, в общем, в юном-то таком возрасте.
Кто-то ворвался или что-то там, я не знаю.
Someone broke into the apartment and began beating up Ivan brutally.
Я просто надеюсь.
I hope that Ivan, having a delicate body type, have died very quickly and have not experienced the terrible agony of dying. I was like in hell. Those screams. I didn't know what to do. After the barrage of monstrous attack, two of the attackers strangled the choreographer and immersed him into the water-filled tub. The body and face of Ivan Parshagin were so disfigured that they had to hide his body with white tulle in a coffin. Looking at the photo, I remembered, "Darling boy, you're so merry. Your smile is bright and clean. Don't ask for this perfect happiness, poison for all our worlds. You don't know what defines this Polish violin, what secret horror hides in these initial accords. As someone who takes her body in his imperative embrace will forget a peace in soul and lose placid light in eyes. Holy spirits like to hear these divine and regal plays. Rage and fury beings ramble on the violinist's trace." This lesson I knew from my childhood. I knew what we could say offending someone, and that was better not to tell. And if I offended anyone, then I did it on purpose.
Значит, я сделал это специально.
Высокое положение в общественной иерархии налагает на нас определенное обязательство.
A high position in the social hierarchy requires us to assume certain obligations, and the higher the status, the more stringent behavioral constraints. Yes, the history knows examples when the name of warm attachment the kings renounce the throne. But in Russia, where the echo of the ideological canons of the Soviet Union is still booming, the regional, municipal and sector rulers try to respect their unwritten laws and rules of decency and not to break them definitely. The sword of Damocles is hanged over every manager. However, you cannot ruin the rules of the nature. The day after the murder of a choreographer, the phone rang in my office in Syktyvkar studio. It was Iya Babrakova, the chief and artistic director of the Komi Republic Opera and Ballet, the people's artist of Russia. She considered it to be her duty to offer me their condolences. balances. And though I and Ivan Yurievich were associated exclusively as colleagues, Iya Petrovna had interpreted these television meetings as proof of our serious personal relations. This strong and noble woman bowed to love which, in her opinion, had broken out between the two men. And Iya Babrakova was wrong about me and Ivan. By the way, she was not alone. But this didn't detract the greatness of her soul and the values of that phone call, providing that even in their homophobic wilderness, there were broad-minded, honest and tolerant people.
Порядочные и толерантные.
Ya no estás más a mi lado, corazón. En el alma solo tengo soledad. Y si ya no puedo verte, ¿qué poder me hizo quererte para hacerme sufrir más? Siempre fuiste la razón de mi existir. Adorarte para mí era obsesión. Y en tus besos yo encontraba el calor que me brindaba el amor y la pasión.
What time of year do you live now?
Ранняя весна. Понимаете, еще не закончилась.
It is early spring. The winter is still not over, but the spring has not come. Street lives the feeling of the spring in the air. It is still cold, and you still need gloves and winter hats. But otherwise, you can take your breath. The air is different. And you already know that winter is coming to the end.
И ты уже знаешь, что зима, по-моему, заканчивается.
И в неполные 30 лет Иван Паршагин
In almost 30 years, Ivan Parshagin remained essentially a child whose heart was shrouded in snow, longed for the spring thaw. Ivan meekly obeyed the inevitable laws of nature, didn't wait the special grace of God and approval of the crowd, but he was looking for understanding.
Были люди, которые не один год, мне казалось, что...
There were people who could understand me just looking into my eyes, and I have not even thought about it. I will think of it only in a minute, but the man has already got my thoughts. It was the attitude of highest level. It is the space.
Такого, знаете, высокого уровня, высочайший, это космос.
But suddenly I realized that this space was just in myself, and the other side has just the useful situation and naked calculation. We were floating down the river, but our boat suddenly stopped, and when I realized this, it was very painful.
Я растворялся в этих людях, просто растворялся весь.
I was dissolving in these people, and all my actions as a leader were subordinated to them.
И как руководители даже. И понимаете, иногда эти люди прекрасно понимали, что иногда от этого зависело.
And these people understood that the work of the team depended on our relationship, our understanding of each other. Everyone in the company lined up under these people.
Под этих людей. Понимаете?
Вы приносили
Have you ever sacrificed?
Не просто так появилась.
I have chosen the ballet, The Sleeping Beauty, not without a reason. It is very good that people watch this ballet. It was my gift to the particular person.
Любовь всегда необъяснима, наверное.
Love cannot be explained. A lot of things are mixed in it. You can use some formulaic phrases to describe it. Love is when someone understands you, but as for me, love is a very difficult question to answer. Is it a complex issue generally, or in this moment? For me, love is a very complicated issue in life.
Otro igual que me hizo comprender todo el bien y todo el mal, que le dio luz a mi vida, apagándola después. Ay, qué vida tan oscura, sin tu amor no viviré.
Большое видится на расстоянии.
Some things are better seen from a distance. And it's hard not to agree with Anna Akhmatova that the sorrow is the stronger feeling on the earth and real world is everlasting. The characters of this old story has different fates. Some are not alive and some are far away. However, some people are well even today. For example, the honored worker of arts of Russia, Mikhail Gertzman, is still the head of the Komi Republic Composers Union. In the region, he gained the glory, honor, and respect as a composer and as a writer. Thanks God, I am still treading this earth, although the local authorities of the Komi Republic has made me permanently leave my native religion for the destruction of the universe. They erased my name from history of the Komi TV and burned my bridges for coming back. But in Sochi, the city of eternal spring and the warm sea, I found not light, but peace. Mikhail Bulgakov.
Но покой. В 2010 году в
In
Нальчике
210, the honored artist of Kabardino-Balkaria, Rose Hakulova, died. 5 years, Rose Talievna taught students at the Moscow Institute of Russian Theatre after the death of Ivan Parshagin. The last 10 years, she worked as a chief choreographer of the Kabardino-Balkar musical theatre. Her work remains as an example of faithful service to art. In 2012, Nikita Dolgushin died in St. Petersburg. He was the legend of Russian ballet and the dancing philosopher. He was as talented as Rudolf Nureyev. The only difference was that Dolgushin stayed in Russia. We periodically met with Nikita Alexandrovich, called each other and wrote letters, remembering Ivan Parshagin due to him met.
в 2011 году в городе
In
Верещагинске
2011, Tatiana Vasilyeva, a foster mother of the dancers Roman and Andrey Vasilyevs, died of cancer in Vereshchagina town in Perm. She was buried in her homeland, and her foster children found their happiness abroad. Roman Vasiliev settled in Porto in Portuguese, where he and with his wife, the dancer, created a ballet school. Andrey Vasiliev lives in a happy marriage with dancer African-American man in New York in the Trump Tower. He runs his own ballet studio. The soloist of the Syktyvkar Opera and Ballet Theatre, Andrey Merkuriev, has made a fantastic career. Now, he is the leading soloist of the Bolshoi Theatre in Russia. He successfully expressed himself as a choreographer. Andrey is the honored artist of the Russian Federation, awarded by the National Theatre Award, Golden Mask. While they were investigating the crime, me and my cameraman happened to be in the detention center and meet with the two killers of Ivan Parshagin, as well as with a person recognized by the court to be the organizer of the murder. He was insisting his feelings to the ballet master. Ruthless executors of bad faith were silent. And yet, according to the court, the subject of non-traditional sexual relations is only the speculation hiding the real reason of personal animosity and jealousy. Now, the criminals are already free after serving long sentences, 36 years for 3 persons. But I don't want to name them and to show their faces. It doesn't matter who specifically killed, spat upon and morally destroyed Oscar Wilde, pushing him to the quick death in poverty, or who humiliated and forced to castration of Alan Turing, driving him to commit suicide. I don't want that the story of a man who, desiring to declare himself, burned the famous temple of Artemis in the summer of 356 BC in Ephesus. It was one of the wonders of the world. The eternity itself selects decent people to pass to heaven, and the talent is a miracle for all times, a ray of sunshine penetrating the human tear, refracting in it, and then reincarnates into a rainbow of feelings, where all colors are equal.
Где все цвета равны.